Hollow Hill. A name whispered, never spoken aloud. A place where the air itself seemed to carry secrets, where the wind would howl through the trees, echoing the voices of the past. The locals knew. They knew the stories, they knew the truth. Tales passed down through generations, each more chilling than the last. They spoke of ghostly apparitions, of eerie lights flickering in the dead of night. On that hill, shrouded in mist and shadow, stood the manor. Its silhouette a dark, looming presence against the twilight sky. A place where time seemed to stand still, frozen in a perpetual state of decay. A once grand estate, now crumbling, decaying. A shell of forgotten dreams. The walls, once adorned with opulent tapestries, now bare and cracked. The windows, shattered and broken, like the eyes of a long-forgotten soul. The manor had stood for over a century, a silent sentinel, watching, waiting. It had witnessed the rise and fall of generations, each leaving their mark, their whispers, their secrets. It was a place of whispers, of cold drafts and unexplained noises, the creak of floorboards, the distant sound of footsteps, the faint murmur of voices long gone, of shadows that moved in the night, dark silhouettes that seemed to dance in the corners of your vision only to vanish when you turned to look. People said it was haunted. By what? They didn't know, but the fear was real. Palpable. A fear that kept them away, that made them avoid the hill, especially after dark. The manor had been empty for decades, abandoned after a fire that left nothing but charred remains and unanswered questions. A fire that claimed the lives of the entire family who lived there, or so the story went. Some said it was an accident, others whispered of something more sinister. No one dared to venture too close, not anymore. The grounds were considered forbidden, a place where only the brave or the foolish would tread. The manor was a place of tragedy, a place of sorrow, a place of evil. Its walls held the memories of a dark past, a past that refused to be forgotten, a past that whispered its secrets to those who dared to listen. Claire had just moved to the small town. She was looking for a place where she could start over, a place where no one knew her name or her past, a fresh start, a chance to escape her past. She had heard about the town's eerie reputation, but that only intrigued her more. She was drawn to the stories, the whispers of Hollow Hill, the haunted manor that everyone seemed to avoid. It was as if the manor itself was calling out to her, beckoning her to uncover its secrets.
She didn't believe in ghosts. Not really. She had always been a skeptic, someone who needed to see things to believe them. But there was something about the place, something that called to her. It was an allure she couldn't quite explain, a pull that she couldn't resist.
She decided to see for herself, to explore the manor and find out what was behind all the stories and whispers, ignoring the warnings of the locals. They had told her countless times to stay away, that the manor was dangerous. They told her to stay away, that it was dangerous, that she wouldn't come back the same. But Claire was not one to be easily scared off. But Claire was stubborn, determined. She had always been headstrong, and this was no different. She would see the truth with her own eyes. She needed to know what was real and what was just a story. One cool autumn evening, she made her way to the hill. The air was crisp, and the leaves crunched under her feet as she walked. The sun was setting, casting long shadows. The sky was painted in hues of orange and pink, adding to the eerie beauty of the scene. The air grew colder as she approached the manor. A chill ran down her spine, but she pressed on. A sense of unease settled over her. The manor loomed ahead, dark and foreboding, but she couldn't turn back now. But still, she continued on. Her curiosity was stronger than her fear, and she was determined to uncover the truth, no matter what it took. The iron gates creaked open, a sound that sent chills down her spine. The driveway was overgrown, weeds pushing through cracks in the pavement. The manor loomed ahead, dark and imposing, windows boarded up, paint peeling, a testament to time and neglect. She stepped inside. The air was thick with dust and the smell of decay. Cobwebs hung from every corner. The floorboards groaned under her weight. She could hear the wind whistling through broken panes of glass. It was as if the house itself was breathing. She wandered from room to room, each one empty, devoid of furniture, but still, she felt a presence, as if she were being watched, followed. She could hear whispers, faint, but there, just on the edge of hearing. She reached the top of the grand staircase. A large stained glass window dominated the landing, depicting a family, happy, smiling, but the glass was cracked, broken. The faces of the family twisted into grotesque expressions. The whispers grew louder, closer. She could feel a cold spot on her neck, as if someone was breathing on her. She turned around, but there was nothing there. Just an empty hallway, and the shadows. The shadows seemed to be moving, shifting, dancing. She felt a chill run down her spine, a sense of dread. She knew she shouldn't be here, that she should leave. But something kept her rooted to the spot, something dark and sinister. She continued to explore, drawn deeper into the manor's embrace. She found herself in a nursery where a rocking horse stood frozen in time, and a child's toy lay discarded on the floor.
Picking up the toy, a wooden doll.
Its eyes seemed to follow her. The whispers were all around her now, whispering her name, mocking her, taunting her. She felt a presence behind her, cold and menacing. She turned around and screamed, "S4, Claire!"
Tall and gaunt, its eyes glowed red in the darkness.
It reached out to her, its hand cold and skeletal. She stumbled backwards, tripping over the toy. She scrambled to her feet and ran, fleeing the nursery. The whispers followed her, echoing through the empty halls. She had to get out, she had to escape. But the manor had other plans. She found herself in the library. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined the walls, filled with ancient tomes and forgotten lore. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows on the walls. She could have sworn she saw figures moving in the flames. The whispers were fainter in here, but still present. She could feel eyes on her, watching her every move. She took a step back and bumped into something solid. She spun around. Standing behind her was a man, tall and handsome, with piercing blue eyes and a warm smile. His presence was both unsettling and strangely comforting, as if he belonged to another world entirely. He wore a velvet smoking jacket and a cravat, as if he had just stepped out of another time. His attire was immaculate, untouched by the decay of the mansion around him, adding to his otherworldly aura.
Taken aback. "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, a mix of fear and curiosity. She had never encountered anything like this before.
"I am Edward, the former master of the house." His voice was calm, almost soothing, as if he had been waiting for this moment for a long time.
Claire had stumbled upon a ghost. She had always been skeptical of such things, but now, faced with Edward, she couldn't deny the reality of his existence. But Edward didn't seem menacing. He seemed kind, gentle. There was a sadness in his eyes, a longing that spoke of years of solitude and regret. He told her about the manor, about his family, about the fire. His words painted a vivid picture of a time long past, of a life filled with joy and then abruptly shattered by tragedy. He said he had been trapped here ever since, unable to move on. The fire had claimed his life, but his spirit remained, bound to the place he once called home. He led her to a table. It was old and worn, yet it held an air of mystery, as if it had witnessed countless secrets over the years. In the center lay a book, bound in black leather, its pages filled with strange symbols and incantations. The book seemed to pulse with a life of its own, drawing Claire's gaze.
"This is a book of shadows, a book of power, a book that could help me escape my torment." Edward's voice was filled with hope, a glimmer of a chance to finally find peace after all these years.
She started to read. The words felt strange on her tongue. Ancient, powerful. The air grew cold. The shadows in the room seemed to writhe and pulsate. She could feel a presence growing stronger, angrier. Narrator. Claire was hesitant. She could feel a dark energy emanating from the book. But Edward was persuasive. He begged her to help him, to read the words aloud, to free him from his prison. He promised her anything in return.
Edward smiled, a cruel, twisted smile. His eyes glowed red, just like the shadowy figure in the nursery. He had tricked her, used her. The book was not meant to free him. It was meant to unleash something far more sinister. The book burst into flames. The shadows in the room swirled and coalesced, forming a vortex of darkness. Claire screamed. She had to get out, she had to escape, but the darkness was closing in. She turned and ran, fleeing the library, the screams of the damned echoing behind her. The manor seemed to be closing in around her, the walls constricting, the air thick with malice. She could hear Edward's laughter, mocking her, taunting her. She had been a fool to trust him, to believe his lies. Now she was trapped, just like him. She finally reached the front door, flung it open and stumbled outside, into the cool night air. She didn't stop running. Not until she was miles away from that cursed place. She never looked back, but she could never forget. The whispers followed her, haunted her dreams. The manor had marked her, changed her. She was no longer the same innocent girl who had first set foot on that hill. She had looked into the abyss, and the abyss had looked back. Claire never returned to Hollow Hill. But the whispers remained, a constant reminder of the horrors she had witnessed, the evil she had unleashed. She knew that the manor still stood, waiting, watching, for its next victim. She vowed to warn others, to keep them away from that cursed place. But no one believed her. They just dismissed her as crazy, another victim of Hollow Hill. And so the cycle continued. The whispers, the fear, the darkness. Hollow Hill would claim another soul. It was only a matter of time.